All right, as all of you know, it's Christmas. So last night I was at the house, and I thought, well, maybe I should watch something Christmas-oriented. So I turned on It's a Christmas Carol, about that fellow Ebenezer Scrooge, who I really couldn't tell what kind of job he did, but he was loaning money and counting money. He didn't look like a bank or nothing. But anyway, while he's sitting there in his little business with his buddy Bob Cratchit, it's going on 7 o'clock. And these fellas come in and they start talking about Christmas and the Christmas spirit, and they needed money to help the poor. Well, this guy, Scrooge, he's not having that. He's pretty much telling them, I don't care about the poor. There are not some workhouses open. I suggest you can see if you can get them into a workhouse to earn some money. I kind of wish Scrooge on that. I don't know if that might make me a Scrooge, but I was kind of like, that doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. But anyway, let me get back to the story here. So anyway, they leave, and Scrooge turns around and says, Christmas is nothing but a bunch of humbug. I like that word too, humbug. So anyway, Bob Cratchit's over there, and the clock there strikes 7. So he walks over and he goes, Mr. Scrooge, can I have my wages? And Scrooge and Cratchit evidently been through this deal before, because Scrooge just kind of looks up at him and goes, I suppose you want all day tomorrow off, too. And he says, well, if it wouldn't be much trouble, sir. And he goes, well, you're not going to get paid for it, but you be here the next day, 7 sharp. And it dawned on me, man, that Cratchit's working 12 hours for this hateful old guy. That can't be fun. So anyway, Cratchit heads out with his 15 shillings, which in today's money equates to a couple $100, actually. I looked that up on the old pocket computer. So anyway, Scrooge locks up, I reckon, around 7:30, and he's heading on out. So as he's heading down the road, everybody that Scrooge is loaning money to is asking for extensions because it's Christmas, and most of them seem to be fixed on 2 weeks, 14 days. Well, Scrooge kind of like nixes that. You got 4 or 5 days, and I'm going to doubly charge you for being late on these payments. So as he heads on home, picks up a few items and gets to the house. Here's where I was really kind of surprised. I guess he lives in a dump, man. I mean, this place is run down. Paint's faded, cracking. And then the curtains look like they're rotten up there on the rod and stuff. I guess that's to show us all, to give you the effect of what a skinflint this guy is. This dude's really cheap. So anyway, he puts on his night clothes, which don't look that good either. And he sits down in his chair in front of this fireplace, and he starts eating this, I guess it's soup, stew, broth, I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, he's sitting there, and he starts hearing somebody coming up the steps. And you can hear them walking up the steps. They have really heavy footprints. And you can hear these chains and things kind of jingling as they come up the steps, or making that noise chains will make coming up steps. So Scrooge gets up out of his chair, and he goes over there and he throws the bolt on the door so nobody can get in, because he figures somebody's coming to mess with him. I reckon because he didn't give anybody their 2-week loan extensions. But anyway, while he's sitting there, them bolts just fly open. They just come loose, like nobody's touched him. So that kind of messes him up. And this guy walks in. He's wrapped in a chain. And along with these chains being wrapped around him, he's got these here money boxes attached to these chains. And he tells Scrooge he's Jacob Marley, his old business partner, and he had better behave or he's going to end up walking the earth like him, wrapped in a chain that he forged himself. And Scrooge's chain, because Scrooge has been pretty bad, is going to be forged and really long. And Scrooge sort of kind of tries to write him off. And then Jacob tells Scrooge, you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts. The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas to come. And they'll be here starting at 1 in the morning. And you better listen to what they say. And Jacob heads out. And Scrooge kind of writes it off. I must have had something bad to eat. Something didn't set right with me. So, he falls up in bed. So he's sleeping there. And the clock, it strikes 1. And evidently it did mess with him, the whole Jacob thing, because he pokes his head through the curtain. And there's this woman standing there wearing a red dress with one of them muff things you put your hands in if you ain't got gloves and it's cold. And she tells him she's the ghost of Christmas past. And you got to come with me, and we're going to fly out the window. And actually, I'd be a little scared, too. Someone in a red dress says we're going to fly out the window. I'd be a little intimidated. But anyway, Scrooge takes her hand, and out the window they go. And they get to this place where there's all these little kids. And this is a Christmas party his sister's at. And he goes, can they see us? And she says, no, they can't see us. These are just mere shadows of the past. I like that, Mere Shadows of the Past. So anyway, he sees his sister goes to see him, and he's just sitting in his chair all mopey and everything. And they don't really have an argument, but, she tells him, man, you might ought to come home and hang out with us. He says, I don't want to. Me and Pop don't get along. I'm going to stay here. So then the next thing you know, you see Scrooge working for this cat named Fezziwig. I liked Fezziwig. Fezziwig can throw a party. And Fezziwig, like, it's Christmas Eve, guys. We're going to shut down and have us a throwdown. So, and Fezziwig has this party, fiddler and everything, dancing and stuff like that. And that's where Scrooge meets this very attractive young woman whose name I cannot remember. And then in the next scene, you got Scrooge and the woman that he met at the party. And I guess this is a few years later because the actor now looks a little older and he's counting out his money and everything. And she's mad because he won't do a lot of stuff. And she takes the engagement ring off and throws it into a scale. And then a couple of quarters hit the scale and out tipped the money and the ring. And I guess the whole thing there is you care about money than me. That's why the money weighs heavier than the ring. And out the door she goes. And actually Scrooge is upset because, he realizes, this was a nice looking woman and she seemed very nice. And I upset her. I pissed her off. It still bothers me to this day. We met in high school and now we're not together anymore. All these years later, it still bugs me. But anyway, he wakes up in bed, a little freaked out. And he's like, bad dream. Must have been a bad dream. But then he hears noise again on the other side of the door. And the door's glowing like a white. So he gets up and walks to the door, and this guy calls him through the door and says, I'm the ghost of Christmas present. And this guy's got it going on. He's got all his food, alcohol, things like that, and a reef on his head. So, he gives Scrooge a drink, pours his cup, and Scrooge says, oh man, this stuff tastes really good. What is it? He says, it's the milk of human kindness, you clod. And they start drinking it, and Scrooge is feeling good. So the ghost of Christmas present takes him over to the Bob Cratchit's house. That's the guy that works for Scrooge and Cratchit's family. Cratchit's got him, looks like 5 youngins, a couple of girls, a couple of boys. And the wife's not happy because, the husband's only got a day, didn't get a lot of money. The goose looks like a chicken that's been starved to death. Looks like there's more stuff in the goose. And then Cratchit comes in with this kid named Tiny Tim. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I can't figure out what's wrong with Tiny Tim. He's got a crutch. He really doesn't limp. They don't say he's not doing well. They say he's got tuberculosis. Has he got smallpox? Did he break his leg and it won't heal because he's got this crutch? But anyway, I digress. They kind of, gather around and they're really nice. And Tiny Tim sings this little song. It's really isn't a Christmas song. That kind of threw me off too. It's like he don't want to sing a Christmas song. That's okay. So next thing you know, Scrooge is back at the house. And he wakes up, and there's the ghost of Christmas to come. And this guy's really scary. He looks like the Grim Reaper. Got the same kind of black suit on and all that, or hood, robe, or, whatever. So he takes Scrooge back over to Cratchit's house. And this Cratchit Christmas ain't too good because Tiny Tim ain't there. So then they go over to the graveyard, and Bob Cratchit's kneeling by the grave of Tiny Tim, and he says he'll be back to see him the next day. I gotta say, I got a little choked up at this point, because you don't want to lose no child, especially coming on Christmas. So I got a little choked up. And then the ghost takes him over and sees this place, and the marker says Scrooge, doesn't have no dates on it. And Scrooge, he gets all, no, that can't be so. And then Scrooge is in this place where people are going through his belongings and talking bad about him because he's dead and they're happy he's gone. They've taken his book, his debt book, and they're throwing it up, singing this happy song that Scrooge is gone. He really gets upset then. So anyway, next thing you know, Scrooge wakes up in bed. And evidently, the whole dream sequence, whatever it was, has really changed him because he runs out of the place and he starts buying gooses and turkeys and toys. He stops off by the Cratchit's house and gives them all these toys, turkeys, and gives that Bob Cratchit a little extra money and another day off and tells him he's going to help him find out what's wrong with that Tiny Tim. And then they ask him to stay for dinner, but he can't stay because he has his nephew who is never very nice to, because his sister passed away and had this boy, and he wasn't really close, but the boy always come by and asked Scrooge to come by for Christmas, and Scrooge would write him off because, bah humbug and things like that. But Scrooge says, no, I have to go over there and have dinner at 3. And that's where Scrooge goes over, hangs out, and plays games and everything. So, it was very interesting. I really liked it a lot. I could watch it again. And I guess this has a moral and everything. Don't turn your back on Christmas and your people because they like you. Then you can redeem yourself. I think that Christmas Carol is a really good program. Well, anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Behave yourselves.